My girlfriend told me she was pregnant, but said her ex would raise the baby. She posted our private life online, called me overreacting, and laughed when I walked away. Months later, after 80 missed calls and a DNA test, her whole world fell apart while I finally found peace. I am Mark. For 3 years, we built a life that felt ordinary in the best way. The ritual of Saturday coffee at 9:15, cheap movies, the tiny studio on 5th Street that held our things, and our small arguments. Elena and I had settled into an easy routine. I thought that was enough. She told me on a rainy night, October 12th, at 9:03 p.m. She sat across from me at the table, her phone face down. "I'm pregnant," she said. The sentence arrived without warning. For a moment, the rain and the clock in the hallway were the only sounds. "I'm keeping it," she added. Then, "Aaron is going to help raise our baby." The name landed flat. I remember dropping a plate, more from shock than clumsiness. It split, and a shard nicked my thumb. The sting felt honest in a way the conversation did not. We never had one huge fight. Instead, there were short, sharp collisions. I reminded her she'd dated Aaron. She said he offered to help. He had a house, she argued. He could give the child things we couldn't in our studio. She pushed her bowl away and stirred rice without tasting it. Her tone was practical. Mine felt stranded. When I mentioned a paternity test, she looked away, said not now. She was tired. She started leaving early and returning late. Her jacket sometimes smelled faintly of another shampoo. Our talks thinned into brittle sentences and sideways hugs that avoided the real weight of what we needed to say. 2 weeks later, I found a message thread on her phone I hadn't meant to see. Ultrasound photos, flight confirmations, plans that read like a schedule for someone else's future. Update. He booked a flight for Thanksgiving, one message said. The idea of a holiday table with another man's name felt like a theft. My days at work dissolved into a single worry. How had our future been handed to someone else while I was making coffee? The apartment felt like a waiting room. We slept with a lamp between us. My ring lived in a drawer because leaving it on felt like an invitation to questions I wasn't ready to hear. I put the broken plate shard in an envelope and kept it, an object that proved things can break cleanly. She told people before she told me. A Facebook post went live at 8:42 p.m., a picture of her hand on her belly, his hand beneath it, and a caption about new beginnings. I learned about it from a friend's text. Seeing her in front of his house, wearing the hoodie I'd given her last winter, felt unreal. That hoodie had once meant comfort. Now it marked a different kind of safety. The morning after the post, she came home like nothing had shifted. Hair damp, she hummed while making coffee. I didn't speak at first. The room felt smaller. I held up my phone with her post on the screen and asked how she could announce that before telling me. She sighed and said I get emotional. Her response treated my pain as an inconvenient reaction. Then she said, quiet and flat, "You're not the one who's pregnant, Mark." Those words landed with the clarity of a decision. That night, I packed a bag. She asked where I was going. I said somewhere, honestly. I left the apartment, the couch, and the dishes. I took my hoodie, laptop, and the envelope with the plate shard. I checked into a cheap motel and watched the red vacancy sign through the blinds until the light blurred. I stayed in the motel a few nights, mostly staring at the cheap wallpaper and the glow from the TV I didn't want but couldn't turn off. Daylight felt like someone else's schedule. Nights were worse, quieter, with too much room for thoughts I tried to shut down. After the first week, I started driving without a plan, just to put distance between the apartment and the place where everything had unraveled. One night, I ended up on Aaron Street. It was just past 2 in the morning, and his pale blue bungalow looked ordinary under the sodium light. I parked across the way and watched. The hedges threw long shadows, and a neighbor's motion light clicked on and off, like a clock I didn't understand. I sat there longer than I should have, feeling foolish and unbearably tired. I never knocked. I wanted facts more than I wanted confrontation, DNA, dates, names, a map I could use. Instead, I left with my head full of small details. The way the curtains moved, the scent of lemon dish soap that sometimes lingered on Elena's clothes, and the dull ache of realizing people make choices for reasons that don't include you. Back in the apartment, life shifted into a slow, hollow routine. We slept with a lamp between us because the space felt safer that way. My ring stayed in the drawer, as if keeping it visible would have been an invitation to talk about things we couldn't fix. I kept the plate shard in an envelope. It was ridiculous, but holding something that had broken and stayed broken felt grounding. Then one Thursday, she handed me a folded piece of paper. It was small and ordinary, a calendar of appointments, a name, a phone number scribbled at the bottom. "He's offered to be present," she said. The words came out as if she were reading from a list. Her expression had shifted into something I couldn't place. Relief, mostly, and the kind of certainty I had once admired. I held the paper and felt its edges press into my palm. That moment made clear what this was really about for her. It wasn't only about who the baby belonged to. It was about safety, about a future she thought Aaron could buy. She told people before she told me. I learned that from the sympathetic text from a friend. "Man, you okay?" Saw her post. I opened the link, and there she was, hand on belly, his hand beneath it. The caption thanked people who chose to stay. My name was absent from the picture, like it had been carefully erased. Seeing her standing in front of his house wearing the hoodie I'd bought for her was a movie in which I didn't belong. The next morning, she came back like everything was normal. Her hair smelled like someone else's shampoo. She hummed softly while she made coffee, acting like nothing had shifted. I held my phone up with her post displayed and watched her face. There was a moment where she saw the reflection of her own words in my mug and froze. "You posted it before telling me," I said without anger, because there was no point in anger that night. She sighed and called me emotional. The word was small and meant to dismiss what I felt. Then she said, matter-of-factly, that I wasn't the one who was pregnant. The sentence landed like a verdict. That line closed something inside me. I stopped asking for explanations. I started making plans that didn't involve her. I gathered a few things and packed a bag. She asked where I was going, and I told her somewhere honest. I left the apartment and most of the life we'd shared. The place looked the same after I walked out. That was its cruelty. I found a cheap motel a few blocks away and watched the vacancy sign pulse red. I didn't sleep well. The nights were filled with scattered thoughts, replayed conversations, and small, sharp memories. The rice she pushed away, the calm tone when she said Aaron would help, the way she had folded her arms like a shield. It was easier to sit in the motel and let the city keep moving than to go back to a home where every corner now held a question I couldn't answer. In the quiet hours, I realized how much of a relationship is ordinary trust, small daily things that add up. She'd traded that quiet for a promise that seemed safer. I kept thinking about the calendar she'd given me, about that thin paper that represented a choice. The next weeks would teach me how much people will risk when they feel cornered, and how decisions made out of fear can unravel fast. I woke up to the sound of my phone vibrating on the bedside table. The motel room was dim. The thin curtain couldn't hold back the morning light. I blinked at the screen. Elena, 80 missed calls. 80. For a few seconds, I just stared. My throat felt dry, my chest hollow. I didn't answer. I couldn't. I scrolled through the call log. Each missed call lined up like echoes of something already dead. A few messages followed, fragments of regret and panic. "Please pick up. We need to talk. He's not what I thought. Mark, please." By the 10th message, her tone had shifted from pleading to confession. She wrote that Aaron didn't want to raise the child together anymore, that he'd met someone else, that the promise he made had dissolved the moment things got complicated. "I made a mistake," she said. "I thought he was stable. I thought you'd stop loving me when things got hard." I read it twice, but I couldn't feel anything except the quiet hum of the motel fridge and the ache behind my eyes. There was a time her words would have pulled me back immediately, but now they just floated, weightless. Later that day, she showed up outside my motel room. I didn't open the door, but through the thin wood I could hear her crying, apologizing, knocking softly. She said she wanted to fix everything, that she finally understood what she'd done. But love doesn't survive by apologies alone, not after public betrayal, not after 100 small lies and one big truth that broke everything. After half an hour, her voice faded. I heard her footsteps retreat down the hall. Silence followed, the kind that feels heavier than noise. That night, I packed again. I left the motel key on the desk, the envelope with the broken plate inside the drawer. I didn't need it anymore. As I stepped outside, the air felt cold but new. My phone buzzed once more, her name on the screen again. I let it ring. Then I turned it off. Some endings don't need closure. They just need silence. It had been 2 months since I'd turned off my phone that night. I moved to a quieter part of town, started freelancing again, and learned how to enjoy mornings without checking for messages. But one morning, while sipping coffee at a corner cafe, my piece cracked open. A notification popped up. Someone tagged you in a post. I clicked it. It was Elena. Her post read, "Some mistakes don't deserve forgiveness, but they do deserve to be owned. I lost the only person who ever truly cared about me. I hope one day he understands that I finally see what I destroyed." The picture below it was of us, taken years ago at the beach, her hair in the wind, my hand half in frame. The comments were flooding in. Friends asked if she was okay. Strangers offering sympathy. A few guessed who the person was. I didn't respond, but people remembered. Messages started trickling into my inbox, some from old friends, some from mutuals. "She's been asking around about you. She tells everyone she didn't realize what she had. She's not with Aaron anymore. Aaron had apparently blocked her after rumors surfaced that the child might not even be his. I didn't ask. I didn't need to. I'd already learned that truth and closure don't always arrive together. Sometimes they arrive as silence, and sometimes as regret broadcast online for everyone to see. A few nights later, I got one last text from her. I saw you walking near Central Avenue. You look happy. I'm glad you moved on. I typed a reply, just her name, then erased it. There was nothing left to say. She wanted acknowledgement. I wanted peace. So I left her message unread, turned off the lights, and let the quiet fill the room. 3 months passed before I heard her name again. Not from her, but from my father. He'd seen her at a local community center, crying outside after a legal meeting. She was fighting over child support with Aaron. Apparently, he had filed to contest paternity. The DNA test proved the child wasn't his. I didn't react. I just stared at my father's face while he told me, waiting for some emotion that never came. Later that night, I searched her name once, just once, on social media. Her posts were gone, her profile picture blank. The woman who once broadcast her happiness to the world had disappeared into digital silence. A week later, an envelope arrived at my apartment. No return address. Inside was a single letter, written in the same small, looping handwriting I used to trace on lazy Sundays. Mark, I know you'll probably never read this, but I need to say it anyway. I thought comfort was love. I thought stability meant happiness. I confused calm for boredom and drama for passion. The baby is mine, but I'm alone now. I wish I could tell you I'm happy for you. I've seen your new work, your new place. You look free. Maybe that's the price of losing me. Maybe that's the lesson I had to learn. That love doesn't wait for someone who keeps walking away. I'm sorry. For the lies. For the post. For every call you couldn't pick up. I folded the letter and placed it in the drawer where the broken plate used to be. For the first time in months, I didn't feel anger, just quiet understanding. Her chaos had burned out. My peace had stayed. A year later, I walked past that same cafe where everything had begun. A new couple sat at our old table, laughing, spilling coffee, arguing softly. For a second, I smiled. Life had kept moving. I checked my phone. 10:15 a.m. One missed call, an unknown number. I didn't bother calling back, because I'd already answered everything that mattered by walking away.